Welcome to episode 4 of The Roadblock, the path to the women's Final Four. Zach Davis alongside me, Ikey Collier on Zoom. Nice to see you face to face for the first time for The Roadblock, everyone watching. Longhorns, pretty good week. 3-0 at the Gulf Coast Showcase, including a incredible win against West Virginia, the number one 12 team in the country. Ikey, just overall general thoughts from that game specifically before we get into the rest of the Gulf Coast Showcase.
Yeah, so as far as my thoughts on the West Virginia game go, I mean, this was a pretty close game. I mean, Texas held a lead at halftime, a decent lead, and West Virginia came back and they made it close at the end. I mean, the play at the end of the game that stuck out was I think it was Justice Carlton who got the game-ending steal, the freshman. But Texas, this is really the first time they've been tested late in the game, and Coach Schaefer's defense was really, I mean, it sealed the victory for them. It got the win, and that's a promising sign for them moving forward as they take on Notre Dame today later today at 6. So that's my thoughts on it real quick. But
How about Justice Carlton that whole week? I mean, she had 30 points in the week before, and then she had the game-winning steal against West Virginia to close that one out. I mean, she gets subbed in for Aaliyah Moore, who already had 20 points on the night, and goes in and makes a play like that as a freshman. I mean, she just got National Freshman of the Week. So congrats to Justice. And man, I mean, I know she's had a bit of a struggle to start the year. I mean, those are her words, not mine, but she really flourished in SRO. And I mean, you saw it. I mean, Texas walloped through the first two games, killed Butler, and then I mean, took down West Virginia. They almost blew a lead. There was but I mean, Justice Carlton comes down the court. She gets the steal, drives down the court, and then gets fouled. High fives Aaliyah Moore behind her, the senior. Chest bumps Brianna Preston in front of her. I mean, you can't draw up a better finish to that tournament and a better start to her career.
yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Texas going 3-0 in those kind of pre-conference tournaments. Always good to at least get a championship under their belt. I mean, it could have been flipped to where kind of what Notre Dame is facing right now. They're playing in a tournament over in the Cayman Islands. I mean, they lost their first game to a good TCU team. We were talking about it before this podcast, but then they got beat by unranked Utah. So they've lost two straight. Notre Dame's dropped from number 4 to number 10 in the rankings, but kind of you see both sides of the spectrum, and this game tonight could really be pivotal for Notre Dame's season. And as far as Texas goes, I mean, they're just rolling right now, especially offensively. Um, I mean, they're averaging over 90 points a game, and they're putting up historic numbers. I think they're the first team since it's it's the 86, 87, or maybe 87 to 88 season that the basketball team has averaged over 78 points a game to start the season. So this team's on an incredible run right now.
You look at the non-conference schedule, and after Notre Dame, there's no ranked teams on there. I mean, they got to go at James Madison on December 8th, which is a respectable opponent in Harrisburg, Virginia. But besides that, I mean, I'm looking at the schedule right now. I mean, including Notre Dame, one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 games of unranked opponents. Texas could be looking at a 14-0 start with this Notre Dame game. I mean, their next ranked game is going to be Oklahoma, who's currently 11th in the country. But I mean, Notre Dame isn't perfect. And before we get into Hannah Hidalgo and all of that, I mean, are we looking at a 30-win Texas squad this year? The SEC is loaded, but I really can't see a team in the country that has the depth and overall connection that this Texas team has.
Yeah, I think 30 wins is very possible for this Texas team. I mean, against West Virginia, they had 4 players in double digits. Against in their first against Butler, 5 of them were in double digits. But it's kind of been different players have really that have kind of rounded out this Texas roster, at least scoring wise. I mean, we know Rory Harmon has been sensational. I mean, she was the MVP of the Gulf Coast tournament. Madison Booker was on the first team for the Gulf tournament, 2 preseason All-Americans. But I mean, Brianna Preston put up 10. Uh, I think against West Virginia in that tournament. Aaliyah Moore put up 20, and yeah, I mean, we've talked about it throughout our podcast that the depth of this team. Kyla Oldacre scored double digits in the Butler game and in the West Virginia game, but that's kind of what makes this team special. Is it's not a one pony show. I mean, it's not or a one trick pony type of team. I mean, they have multiple ways that they can beat people, which will serve them well later on in SEC conference play.
Yeah, Ikey, you're right on the money. I mean, Kyla Kyla was sensational, especially in the West Virginia game. Taylor Jones got 10 minutes. Kyla didn't get subbed out in the entire second half, 30 minutes of basketball. And we talk about all the rotations, all the different ways that Texas can hit you. The one thing that we know is going to be consistent night in and night out is Taylor Jones and Kyla Oldacre going in and out with each other. And how about Kyla? I mean, coming in from Miami, coming off some injuries. I mean, she's been banged up all year. Now she seems to be fully healthy. She's thriving, and what a performance by her stepping up. After Vic Schaefer shook hands before they did the celebration, Vic brought the whole team together just to shout out Kyla, um, and Esther out. So I mean, yeah, this team is loaded. Brianna Preston didn't even play that much against West Virginia. Like it's just there's I mean Justice. You talk about your five, right? To me, the five on every night is going to be Shea Hawley, Rory Harmon, Madison Booker, Taylor Jones, and then Layla Filia. And then you think about the bench. I mean, you got three phenomenal freshmen in Brianna Preston, uh, Jordan Lee, and Justice Carlton, National Freshman of the Week, by the way. And then you have Kyla Oldacre, um, and you have Jack Lang and Winnetada. That's 10 girls that could start on any SEC program in the country. The best conference, and there's just so much depth, which is why I really think Texas is going to win 30 games. I could see them now. I just can't. I mean, it's basketball. They're going to lose a game, but it's hard to picture just because they're so deep unless they have a terrible shooting night. But this isn't a shooting basketball team, Ikey. We haven't seen them shoot lights out. We've never seen a Vic Schaefer team shoot lights out. And according to Vic, this is the best shooting team he's ever had. Um, so, I mean, who knows? But when you're not a shooting team, it's like, I mean, last night you saw men's Ohio State. They had throttled by Maryland because they're a 3-point shooting team and they went 0 for 8 in the first half. Like when you build a squad on defense and getting easy buckets, it's very hard to get capitalized on that or to be countered in any way because the program is so solid. How Vic Schaefer runs his basketball program is so solid. So I mean, we'll see. I was extremely impressed with the girls in Estero. I mean, they beat New Mexico State by 40. They beat Butler by not can't do the math there, like 35. And then they beat West Virginia. And the West Virginia game, by the way, they were winning by 10 with under 90 seconds to go. And then with 30 seconds to go, it was tied up. Texas pulled ahead. They got the win. Madison Booker hit a sick elbow shot to seal the deal. And then, of course, Justice Carlton steal. But I mean, I'm talking about just solid basketball. Like they can take anything, and I'm not sure. Did the end of the game? Not the end of the game, but the reason they came back was because Vic got a technical foul because standing up for Rory Harmon, who was blasted in the face by her defender. Vic's first tech of the year. Ikey, I mean, blowing a 10-point lead in a minute and a half is, or less than a minute and a half, is kind of a red flag. How do you think Texas should kind of and Vic should kind of handle their emotions going forward?
No, in these high intensity games, uh, when a player kind of is disrespected, or if their teammate is getting shoved around, I like the fact that Coach Schaefer stood up for Rory. I mean, it really just shows how much he cares about their players, but the closeness of this team. Now, with that being said, moving forward to SEC play and later on in the season, when these games are getting really in the nitty-gritty, I mean, it's technical, as you were saying, almost costed them the game against West Virginia, but Yeah, I mean, obviously you try to limit technicals and limit personal fouls, but I mean, I give Coach Schaefer a pass on this one. I mean, granted, it's easier to say that because Texas ended up coming back and winning the game. Um, but just one of the things you got to monitor because I mean, you never know when those moments are going to pop up. I mean, you never know when those tensions are going to flare. It could happen on a dime, and it kind of falls on the rest of the team to back each other up, but also say, hey, it's gonna be okay. I mean, really just avoiding technicals is the way I see it. But one stat I noticed about this Texas team, and you were talking about how they don't have to rely on the 3-point ball. Their defense, they're forcing 27 turnovers a game, and that seems like an absurdly high amount. And I know it's early, and I know the schedule hasn't been super difficult so far, but that's going to win them some ball games.
Yeah, no. But I think the 27 turnovers a game, not to discredit it, is just a little inflated because I mean they played SEMU, they played Lamar, like they haven't and Tarleton State, like those games are going to
Yep.
inflate the turnover ratio because it's a different level, like the girls on the other team can't handle the press that they can put on. It's going to force a lot of turnovers. I think it's going to come down a bit once in conference play, when the team's a little more competitive, they can handle the press a little more. But then again, I'm not discrediting it. That is a phenomenal feat. 27 turnovers a game is ridiculous. I don't know how many turnovers they're going to average. Forced turnovers are going to average in once the second half of the season starts, but I do know that they're going to win the turnover margin night in and night out, and that's what matters. That's the stat to me. I think this is going to be the highest clip of forced turnovers that any SEC team has. They're so quick, they're so fast, they run the floor. Um, but yeah, I mean, going back to what you said about Vic, and I do think there's two ways to it. I agree with you. I really think that it's really good that he stands up for his players, that he has their back. It's really nice to see, and I like that culture a lot. I also agree with you the fact that we feel this way because we won. We feel this way because Texas won. If Texas lost, I think it would have been like pointing fingers a bit. I think it would have been a different conversation, and they could have lost. It came down to the last possession. So who knows? I'm not. I appreciate Vic for standing up for his players. That's the number one quality you want in a coach, 100%. I just don't know what we would be saying if we lost. But I do know that any head coach, any great head coach, is not immune to turnover. I'm not immune to um, flagrant or technical fouls. I mean, we just saw Bobby Hurley and Maui freak out over some bad calls too. So I mean, they're great coaches because they want to win, and winning is what they're really good at. And when that's in jeopardy, they'll do anything they can to stop it, to win. So that's my best way. That's my best way to put that. But I agree with what you said, Ikey. That's all I was gonna say. I think you were spot on with that breakdown. So anyway, moving forward, the girls are in South Bend right now. First top 10 opponent of the year. Notre Dame was fourth in the country just a week ago before losing to TCU and their other loss, which was not that good of a loss. Not that any loss is good, but Ikey, just what are you looking to see? Hannah Hidalgo, one of the best players in the country, grew up with Madison Booker, played with Madison Booker on the U.S. national team. They are good buddies, good friends. What's going to happen?
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see kind of how that plays out on the court. It's kind of cool to see two friends compete at really such a high level. As far as how the game's going to play out, I think Notre Dame's going to have to keep this one close, uh, you know, going into halftime. Because if Texas gets out and gets an early lead and they're running up and down the court in transition and they're dominating inside with Taylor Jones and Kyla Oldacre, I think they're going to give Notre Dame fits. Is the way I see it. But what are your thoughts? What's maybe an X factor that could determine this game for you?
I think Shea Holly tonight is 100% the X factor. her and Rory Harmon. And I'm not thinking offensively, I'm thinking defensively. This is a defensively trained team, and Rory Harmon and Layla Filia and Shea Holly are your three best defenders on this team. And to me, Shea, how is she going to play 3 and D? How is she going to guard Hannah Hidalgo? I expect her to guard Hannah Hidalgo. I mean, I know it's a different team, but if it was last year, her assignment would have been Hannah Hidalgo, and I hope I see that tonight. I think that's a great matchup. I think they're very equal from Hannah's offensive basketball to Shea's defensive basketball. They're both small. They're both guards, and if I mean Hannah Hidalgo's averaging 23 points a game, Texas wins if the guards I just mentioned, Shea, Rory, and Layla, if they can stop Hannah Hidalgo from getting 20. If Hannah Hidalgo stays under 20 points tonight, Texas will win. I think that's the key. That's the matchup. I know Texas is gonna play man. Um, So those how are they going to switch? How are they going to keep Hannah away from the basket and closed out beyond the arc? I'm really interested to see what is going to happen with guarding Hannah tonight because the we know the offense is going to figure itself out. They're going to get buckets they want. How's the press going to be? How many turnovers are they going to face? How many turnovers are they going to face? The basic questions we ask night in and night out with the squad. But the number one question tonight is, can you keep Hannah under 20?
Yeah, I think I mean, that's really a great point. Containing Notre Dame's leading scorer is going to have an impact on that, but also whoever wins the battle of the glass. I mean, whoever gets the most rebounds is going to have an advantage just because, I mean, both these teams can score a lot of points. Um, it's kind of cool. Texas is going to a completely new environment. I mean, I saw that Jeremy on his Twitter, he was running through the snow this morning. I mean, and
Grinder. He's a
yeah, Grinder,
grinder.
man. Shout out to him. But, we'll see how they handle playing somewhere completely across the country. But yeah, I mean, Notre Dame, they won the national championship in 2018. It was kind of I mean, that run kind of captivated the whole country. Their head coach, Neil Ivy, took over in 2020 and which was one of the best point guards to wear the Notre Dame Fighting Irish uniform. And I mean, clearly she's got this program up with the elites, with the Joneses of women's college basketball and where it needs to be. So it's a battle of the Titans, and it's not rare that you see these kind of top tier matchups early on in the season, but this has a excuse me, look, this has a potential to. I mean, this is like a tournament matchup, something you see in the Elite Eight or even Sweet 16, and we're in for a treat tonight to see it early on.
There's a couple advantages Notre Dame has tonight. First of all, home court advantage, big time. Notre Dame loves their women's hoops, and it's going to be pretty rowdy in there. So that's going to be a big thing for Notre Dame. I think if it was a neutral site or Texas at home, much more confident in the Longhorns. The second thing is, what was my second thing? Oh my God, it was home court advantage. Okay, it was yes, it was strength of schedule. Texas, Notre Dame, they they've played USC and they beat them by 13. They were number three at the time, number six now. Um, they played a tough game in the Cayman Islands against TCU, and then they lost to Utah. I really think that's such a big advantage for Notre Dame because they're so much more familiar with close games, playing high competitive basketball. Texas really only has that one game. It's West Virginia, you know?
Yeah. So,
So
Notre Dame's been tested earlier on in this season, which you think could benefit them in a tight, highly contested game.
yeah, I just think Notre Dame's much more used to um, just much more used to back and forth basketball. Texas had that against West Virginia, and you kind of saw the inexperience with that. Like in the last minute and a half, they blew a 10-point lead. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I believe it's gonna be a great game. It's gonna be a great game. I'm gonna say Texas wins. I'm gonna say 76-60-69. What about you?
Yeah, I was thinking, give me Texas by 5. I think a little higher scoring though. Give me 85 to 80. I think this is
I
going to
would
be a track meet, but. I mean,
I will not be complaining if it's 85 to 80. That sounds like a treat. But that'll wrap it up for episode 4 of the Roadblock, the women's path to the Final Four. Zach Davis, my partner in crime, Ikey Collier. Make sure to find him on Twitter, give him a follow. We're signing off. Hope all of you have a beautiful weekend. We will see you next Thursday.